Welcome back to my booth. Irfan here. This little box, which is smaller than a 500 milliliters water bottle, is a telescope. It has a lens, but there is no eyepiece. Instead, there is a USB-C port over here, which means your phone is your eyepiece. Now, if you look it up on YouTube, you won't find much because this is pretty much its first video review. Their crowdfunding campaigns at Indiegogo and Kickstarter are crushing it. All the early bird offers are sold out, and now you can get your hands on one of these for like $130. But what is it that is making people go crazy over this thing? Well, let me show you. I'm going to show you how it looks, how to set it up, and then I'm going to show you a bunch of stuff with and without the scope. So make sure you stick till the end. First, unboxing.
If gadget reviews, DIY projects, and life hacks are your thing, then consider subscribing to my booth and turn on the bell notifications so you don't miss out on any of the action.
Alright, here is the box of the Dwarf telescope from Tinyscope. Nothing much on it other than the branding and some product and manufacturer details. Inside the box we have the cleaning cloth, a setup guide, the Dwarf telescope, a Wi-Fi box, a USB-C cable, and two OTG connectors. One is a micro USB and the other is a USB-C. Now Tinyscope is not a new brand. They already have a phone-based microscope which has excellent reviews. This time they went with the other dimension of zooming in with an electronic telescope. The main scope here is quite small. It is merely 12.2 centimeters in height and the cross section is a square of 5.6 centimeter sides. There's a lens on the front, a tripod screw hole on the belly and a USB-C port in the back. The build quality is solid with a neat matte frosted finish in both white and black. To use this scope you have to connect it to your phone, and there's two ways of doing that. Take the cable that came with it and plug in the C end into the scope and the other end into your phone using one of the OTG connectors. Or you can go wireless by using the Wi-Fi box. Now the telescope doesn't have a battery of its own, so it relies on external power. When connected to your phone, it will draw power from there, and when using the Wi-Fi box, this gives the power as there's a battery in here, and this box has to be charged every now and then. That's what this USB-C port is for. Now connect the Wi-Fi box with the scope with the given cable and press the power button. The battery LED is glowing red, but that doesn't mean it's over, it just shows it is in use. Now open your phone Wi-Fi connections and look for the scope's connection and connect to it. You'll also notice a small green LED on the Dwarf telescope which indicates that it is alive. You need to have an app called Tinyscope and it's available on App Store and Google Play. Download it and launch it. You might notice I've switched my trusty iPhone for an Android today, and that is because the iPhone app still has some fixes to be made and doesn't work as good as the Android app. In the application, click on the camera button in the bottom and select the third option, and the second one is for OTG connection. Once you do that, there you go. Now all you have to do is point the telescope wherever you want and look at your phone. Now you might be wondering, well, it's not really sharp or in focus and the scope doesn't seem to have any focus wheel of any sort. Well, one of the most amazing features of this thing is that it has autofocus. So you click on the focus button and tap on auto and it will try to get you the sharpest and most clear image possible. And if it cannot, you can tap on the small plus and minus signs to adjust it manually. The motorized lens inside is capable of moving 3.7 micrometer steps, so you don't overdo it or underdo it. By the way, I decided to show you a screen recording for a better picture. Let me show you for a second what we're looking at without the telescope. There it is. When using the OTG cable, sometimes the app will crash when trying to autofocus. The Wi-Fi box works fine, no problems at all. Even the OTG issue, I was later informed that they fixed it in their latest app version. Now, other than the focus, the app also has exposure and white balance, which you can leave on auto or adjust it manually. The exposure comes in handy when looking at the moon, and I'll come to that in a moment. There's also some other features like switching between landscape and portrait mode, selecting image resolution, playing around with the contrast, saturation and gain all in real time. This icon here is the image library, and you can use this button to switch between photo, video or time-lapse video. And did I mention that you can pinch zoom on the screen to get even more up close with the subject? I asked a friend of mine to drive away exactly 1 kilometer so I can see how an object 1 kilometer away will look with and without it. And here it is. One point to note here is that since the Dwarf telescope is so light, it does shake a little with moderate to strong winds, which was today. I asked him to drive away another kilometer and here is the result. In the normal picture, you can almost not spot his car at all, being 2 kilometers away. And with the scope, it is still visible, but not quite sharp and very defined, but still very commendable. On these signboards in the distance, I can barely see them in the picture, let alone read what is on them. But with the scope, it is clearly readable. Impressive. Now let's have a look at some more stuff side by side with and without the scope to see what it is capable of. Now, one great thing is that the phone shows a full screen image and not just a round image, which is the case with conventional scopes when you mount your phone on it. The Dwarf telescope has a focal length of 100 millimeters and is said to be equivalent to a 673 millimeters full frame camera lens, which will put its zoom around 13 times or 13x. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I feel having no eyepiece is an advantage and sort of a disadvantage as well. I mean, it's great that I can see and record everything on my phone, but what if the Wi-Fi box runs out of battery or the OTG cable breaks? I'd still like to be able to go back to basics and just hold it up to my eye. Just saying. I have to confess, the image quality is pretty good, and since the output is directly onto the phone, I don't have to try and hook up phone adapters to it, which messes up with the ability to take stable pictures and videos. The colors are surprisingly true, well balanced, and quite vibrant. Talking about stable videos, check out this video I made with the scope while panning it sideways while I was making a video of the same truck with my iPhone 6 with the other hand at the same time. Not bad. Now I'm going to do some testing in the dark with the auto exposure on. The picture is quite noisy, so you have to dial it down manually to get a clearer picture, and even then I think it can do better. Somehow when I lower the exposure, I notice the frame rate of the image decreasing, causing the feed to slow down a bit. I'm not sure what's happening, but it doesn't affect the image quality though. And of course, none of my scopes videos will be complete without the moon, so here it is. Now, capturing the moon can be a little tricky. When you point the scope at it, this is how it looks. A big, extra bright blob of light. So you have to lower the exposure and then play with the focus until you get the perfect image. I didn't choose the best day since the moon was almost full, and I can't make out the craters, but it still looks amazing. You'll also notice there is minimum to none chromatic aberration, which are basically those blue and red and sometimes green glows around the subject. The image is pretty nice and clear. Now, the scope and other products aside, Tinyscope is also trying to build up to something bigger by trying to create a community through their app where people can share their clicks with their microscopes and telescopes online.
Alright, I am surprised. I truly am. And now I can see why people are so invested in this thing. Now, it would be wrong to say that my whole testing went flawless. There were times when the Wi-Fi box bailed on me or the app kind of got stuck. But you have to remember that this is a fresh project from crowdfunding campaigns, and there will be last-minute adjustments made to the app and the firmware and the hardware itself to make it perform better. And even after shipping, they'll keep updating the app and the firmware to make sure this thing delivers what it has promised. Essentially, it is nothing more than a small-scale electric telescope or monoscope plus camera bundle. But what I see is the vast potential this project carries. And if this is their first version, I really can't wait to get my hands on what they come up with in the future. It comes in two versions, one with just the OTG cable, and this one which comes with a Wi-Fi box, which you can connect wirelessly. One suggestion which I would like to throw out there is if in the Wi-Fi box version, they might want to consider embedding the Wi-Fi box which you saw earlier in the body of the scope itself, which will eliminate the need for cables. They're also trying to, I think, develop this in two more colors, pink and blue, if they exceed their campaign targets. And they have also already developed a motorized pan and tilt motor which can be screwed down here to control its movements precisely. It is small, portable, great build quality, great app, solid connection. With the old Android version on one of my phones, I did have a couple of issues, but when I tried it with the latest one, there were no issues at all. Not once did the app disconnect throughout the time when I was using it with the latest Android version on my phone. Plenty of room to play around with the image quality and clarity in real time. multiple shooting modes, solid battery life of about an hour and a half of the Wi-Fi box, and it also takes about an hour and a half to charge it from 0 to 100. For $130, I think it is worth it. I'm going to leave their campaign links in the description box below in case you want to check it out yourself.
That's it for now, guys. If you enjoyed what you saw, hit that like button below, share the video with your friends and family, and while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to MiiBooth for more gadget reviews, DIYs, and life hacks. You can also follow me on Instagram and other social media. All the links are in the description box below. Click on the thumbnails to watch my other videos, or check out my YouTube channel for more. And as always, thanks for watching.